We follow a system called EOS, like the Entrepreneurial Operating System or Traction, and core values is a really big component of that. And we view it as the foundation of our entire culture. So a business is a group of people that gathered together to accomplish a goal. And for us, core values are sort of the rules of the road for what it means to be a member of the community that is called Nonprofit Megaphone. We have 5 core values, which are honorable, go-getter, results, team player, and no drama llama, which we think is hilarious. Our mascot is a llama. And we weave those into obsessively into the interview process, into the onboarding process, into all major feedback. We have quarterly state of the company addresses where we talk about them. We just talk about them constantly. And it is nice because it just makes everyone be on the same page of how do we act together? These are the things that we value. And
welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to look at being a core values-driven leadership organization. And why do you want to have core values-driven leadership? Why is it important for execution? And then what are the rituals and the strategies of doing that? Today, our special guest is Grant Hensel. He is the CEO and founder of Nonprofit Megaphone. And Grant and I talk about why values are so important, how they came up with values, and what their procedures are for updating those values over time, but also the rituals inside the organization that are really critical for living the values. All of this, we've done many episodes on core values before, but we're really looking at this through the lens of leadership and how it aligns people together and what it does for our culture and execution. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm an executive coach. We also run a leadership development platform for managers to become leaders inside of our organizations. And we are we come in, train your team, we coach your team, and we facilitate conversations on these different skills of leadership that really allow for them to think about how they need to lead their team and develop their people. And we do that all for fast growth companies. If you want to join the conversation with other fast growth companies, you can go to corelevation.com/virtual conversations. If you qualify and you're an executive of a fast growth company, you can come in and really participate and ask questions and learn and even give insights to other CEOs and other executives of fast growth companies. Just go to corelevation.com/virtual conversations. Now, here's the interview with Grant. Grant, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Gene?
Fantastic. We're going to have a great interview today. We're going to talk about core values and really values-driven leadership. Before we get there, tell us about your company, Nonprofit Megaphone.
Everyone makes fun of me. My name is Grant, and we do the Google Ad Grant for nonprofits, which no one has ever heard of, but it is a program where Google gives $10,000 a month, every month, forever, to any 501c3 nonprofit that's not a hospital or a school to help them run ads on Google search. So we help nonprofits get the grant. They get $10,000 every month forever, and we run their ads for them. And it's a lot of fun. We serve about 750 nonprofits across the country. We have a team of 90 people, and everyone makes fun of me for being named Grant. So it's a lot of fun.
I have never heard of it either, and I've been around a lot of nonprofits. One of my favorite, clients and friends created 48 and 48, which is an incredible event. They've been on the podcast before talking about making 48 websites in 48 hours for nonprofits, and you guys are doing something that's pretty innovative. I know that Google has plans with, to help support businesses, but 10,000 per month, did I have that right, for a lifetime?
10,000 per month forever. As long as you keep following the rules. The program's been around for 15 years, and there are people that have gotten it for years and years and years. It's awesome.
And then you are built a business around this so that you're serving them to get their message out into the world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, our mission is amplifying nonprofit voices, and it's sort of the nice megaphone tie-in. But yeah, the idea is using the Google ads so that if someone's searching for something related to what the nonprofit does in Google, an ad shows up, takes them to the nonprofit's website, and then hopefully they do something valuable.
I'm sure you've got a lot of cool stories and interesting stories. Is there one that stands out that you could share with us today that really, exemplifies your impact with nonprofits?
Totally. We have, I'll pick one. We have an organization that I think is very cool called COPD Foundation, which COPD is like a respiratory condition. And they have a free online screening questionnaire that you can take. that basically, if you're having trouble breathing, you can see, is this probably COPD? And we use the Google Grant to advertise to people that are searching for like breathing issue related things. And we get hundreds of people each month. And so like now probably like thousands, or maybe, I don't know if it's 10,000 at this point, because it's been years now, to take that questionnaire. And it's fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for our team to be like, we write ads, but those ads are reaching actual people, and in some cases making like life-changing or potentially even like significantly life-altering in a positive way connections happen. And to me, like I love business, all types of businesses, and but it's especially fun to be able to see like real impact type things happen from doing something like writing ads.
Love stories like that. And it makes it so much easier to probably create a business that people are excited to come to work every day, because they know that they're not just, helping someone else get rich, which is nothing wrong with that. But, if you say, I'm helping people with respiratory problems, and we have the form, that getting more people to fill it out, and it's very clear that it's making an impact in our communities. So love the story, Grant. We came here not necessarily to talk about the business, although it'd be fascinating to know what you know about marketing and whatnot. But what's more important is for us to talk about how you and your team align together. And I know our team does research with you, and you've been through the process with us, because we get, 20, 30, 40 pitches a day wanting to be on the podcast. We rarely take any of those, if you're listening in. But I wanted to go back and talk about core values driven leadership. So what is core values driven leadership for you?
We follow a system called EOS, like the entrepreneurial operating system, or traction, and core values is a really big component of that. And we view it as the foundation of our entire culture. So a business is a group of people that, gather together to accomplish a goal. And for us, core values are sort of the rules of the road for what it means to be a member of the community that is called Nonprofit Megaphone. We have 5 core values, which are honorable, go-getter, results, team player, and no drama llama, which we think is hilarious. Our mascot is a llama. And we weave those into like obsessively into the interview process, into the onboarding process, into like all major feedback. We do it. We have like quarterly state of the company addresses where we talk about them. We just talk about them constantly. And it is nice because it just makes everyone be on the same page of like, how do we act together? These are the things that we value. And what do we not value? And like, what is not okay for us as we work together? And we can get more into it, but that is foundational. We have 90 people now, and we feel like we have, despite being 100% remote, like a very actually cohesive culture, and core values is 100% responsible for all that, in my humble opinion.
I have so many interviews on here about core values. I collect these little stories about how we're using the values, how we're really living them. What are your favorite 1 or 2 ways at which you guys live your values?
Yeah, I'll talk about the no drama llama core value, because it's sort of like the most unique and weird. And for us, no drama llama means when we have problems with each other, which is always going to happen. Anytime you have more than 2 humans, there's going to be problems. More than 1 human, there's going to be problems. And for us, no drama llama means we do not hide the problems, and we do not gossip about the problems with third parties. We just talk about them like a no drama llama directly. So if I had some issue with you, Gene, I'd be like, hey, I'd want to talk about this. This is what, like, when you do this, it sort of has this negative impact on me. And like, can we just talk about it? And that we talk about this constantly. We talk about it constantly. And we just have set sort of the expectation that like gossip and politics and like backstabbing is not allowed, and avoiding tough conversations is not allowed. And so people say like, I want to come to you like to be a no drama llama, and like here's the thing I want to talk about. And it's sort of like code to be like, yes, that's right. That's that thing that we've all agreed. We're going to be good with giving feedback. We're going to be good with receiving feedback. We're not going to be bent out of shape about it. And therefore, yeah, it's good. And we talk about on people's first days, we talk about how when we instituted that core value, some people quit because they're like, that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I prefer not that. And it's like, that's totally fine. That's great. It's not for everyone, but it is for us. And so here we are.
Now, Grant just mentioned tough conversations. The one thing I know for sure, because I'm writing the book on tough conversations and how to have them, and is you cannot expect things to get easier. You can't expect them to get better on their own. You have to address them. You have to have the courage to plan out the conversation and really do it from the right place if you want to be a leader. When you think about your job as a leader, it's not just about getting the job done. It's about aligning people together to the mission and to the goals, and to really create the kind of conversations that are necessary to get people to perform at a higher level, to grow and evolve from where they are. Because if we stay stagnant, the company will be stagnant, or we will outgrow the people. The company outgrows the people, and this happens quite often. But you want to make sure that you're not only understand that these tough conversations are needed, but you do them well. And if you want to get a free download, all you have to do is go to coreelevation.com/tough conversations. Absolutely free. There's a 10-part framework. If you download it today, you can start today having better, more effective, tough conversations. Just go to coreelevation.com/tough conversations. Back to Grant. I got to clarify that they quit because they didn't want to have those tough conversations. They'd rather
Basically,
let
they
things
said that
fester
explicitly.
and get worse.
It's just like, hey, I'm like a little bit, and I don't think it's bad for them. They're like, I'm a little bit conflict averse. Like that just makes me uncomfortable, and I would prefer not to work here. And we're like, totally respect that. That's absolutely fine. And I think wise for you to just be like, that's not my vibe, which is totally chill.
And that's perfect example of living the values, is being willing to share this and letting people self-select themselves out of it. And I want to be just a little bit more curious with you in this area. Is there another area that within the drama, the values that you say, we're living it, we're doing this quite often? Like what would we see across your organization being all remote, and how you guys really live your values?
Totally. So team player is another of the values. And we would define that as being supportive, being encouraging, being collaborative, but most of all, focusing on catching people doing something right and celebrating it and saying like, that was incredible. So a couple ways that we do that tangibly, we have Slack. We have a success stories channel in Slack where like today, an hour ago, someone posted a success story about something awesome that someone did. We also have a tool called Office Vibe, which has just been rebranded. It's now called like WorkLeap Office Vibe, where one, anonymous, it has like anonymous sort of workplace satisfaction, workplace healthiness surveys, which are great. And then two, it has a thing called Good Vibes, where you can send like little encouraging notes to other people. And since we've had that, I think we initiated it like a year ago, because that's when they came out with it. I've sent like 700 of these. So I think we've sent like thousands of them, just all between people. And no one ever said like, you have to do this. It's just like, there's this feature, do anything with it if you want. And probably like 5 or 7 or whatever a day, good vibes just get sent from different people, recognizing
And they're
their
anonymous?
colleagues for cool stuff. They're not anonymous. Those are, so you can give feedback to the leadership anonymously,
Okay.
but the good vibes, since they're all positive, are non-anonymous.
Okay. So they get to see that it's coming from the CEO in this case.
Totally. Yeah. Or anyone else. Like it could be like anyone can do it to anyone.
So Grant, we're here talking about core values driven leadership. So let's look at the leadership side of it. There's having the core values, and then there's having leaders that are truly developing people, exiting people if necessary, hiring people that are coming into to our company. That's all leadership kind of activities. What is it about the leadership of with your core values and how you make that work for yourself?
Yeah, so our view is that the number one job of a leader is, to paraphrase Jim Collins and Good to Great, make sure you have the right people on the bus and in the right seats and headed in sort of the same direction. And we think a lot about, especially with right people on the bus and in the right seats, making sure that core values are an essential component of that. So we would say a right person is someone who has the core values, and someone is in the right seat if they're good at their job. In the interview process, we have lots of questions that are specific core values related. Like we're asking questions with a core values lens in mind. And then whenever anyone starts at the company, or if they start a new role, we send them through what's called a 30, 60, 90, like sort of ramp up onboarding review process. And each of those checkpoints, like you have to pass each of those checkpoints, and each of them have some core values component of like, okay, are you demonstrating each of the core values? How is that happening? Are you not? Why is that not happening? And like, let's give you feedback. Because sometimes it's like results. It's like, you're doing great, but you're not getting results. Let's help you out with that. So yeah, it's just our philosophy is like, the more we can incorporate it into absolutely everything, probably the happier we will be, because build the people and the people build the business.
I mentioned that my book has outlined about 12 to 14 different touch points of values. One simple one that I really like is inside of meetings, giving a shout out. And for some of my clients, they've done this, and they will go in and say, All right, what we really want to talk about today is Cindy over here in marketing has done an excellent job with this new project with some challenges she had to overcome. She represents our values because we do hard things, and Cindy's just done a great job. So it's a shout out. You guys may do something like that, but is there any other types of like rituals that you have inside your organization that align to the values of the company that you can share with us?
We do shout outs. We have a weekly all team meeting where we do shout outs and success stories. Sounds like pretty similar to what you're describing. We have what we call quarterly conversations, which are sort of informal touch points between each manager and their direct report, like each individual direct report and their manager. And those we talk about core values in terms of how are things going? Is there opportunity for growth? Are there, things that are fantastic that should be celebrated? I'm trying to think of what else. The leadership team revisits the core values every quarter and in a deeper way once a year, just to make 100% sure that they are still right. We want them to be core in the sense that they are demonstrated by all of our best people, and we view as essential to our continued flourishing as an organization, and not like aspirational for things we wish we had but don't actually, or like permission to play in that like every company on the face of the earth would require this. So it's not like core to us. So we think about that.
Right.
Yeah. Each quarter and then really deeply each year.
I've got a client now who has 4 values, and 3 of them are I think really done well. And there's the 4th one I meant to bring up at the last quarterly retreat, because we get together once a year. I facilitate a 2-day kind of workshop with the leadership team. And one of their values is aspirational, which most people would say that's not a bad thing. But I agree with what you're saying. Like it should be something that we're demonstrating very often, not something we hope to someday. And it can't be just like, tell the truth.
Right.
That should be
right.
That should be table stakes.
Honesty. Yeah, exactly.
I love the no drama llama because it has a little bit of fun to it, and the alliteration or rhyming of it just makes it, I think, something that's easy to kind of talk about, and it's not so direct. It has to be explained a little bit, but it also, once you get it, you kind of really get it. We've been talking about your core values and being leadership driven. Is there anything I've left out of this conversation that you feel like is really important that demonstrates your company's, success and execution through your high growth rates?
This is almost a cliche, but I think that the most profound way that core values are demonstrated is what a company does when they have a very high performance person who does not live the core values. And when push comes to shove, what does the organization value more? And we've had a couple times in our history where we've had to give a lot of feedback, give a lot of coaching, give a lot of support, but ultimately sort of transition someone out despite their great numerical performance because of their core values issues. And that has always felt scary and painful. And then once we've done it, the response from the rest of the team has always been, why didn't you do it sooner? And thank you so much, which is, I hope that we're now getting faster at that and braver. But I do think that is when core values, and actually also same thing with clients. We have occasionally fired clients for just really going against the core values. And that has also been, even when it represents significant revenue, actually a quantum step forward. So
now Grant just mentioned something that I want to make sure we put a spotlight on, is what a company does when you have a high performing employee, but they no longer align with the core values. Well, the easy answer is it's time to let that person go. If you've done everything you can, you've had the tough conversations, you've had holding them accountable, you've done all of the things, you've got to let that person go. I'm sitting in the seat where I've had this conversation with other leaders hundreds of times, where they say, you know what, this person used to perform at this level, but as we've grown, we've realized that they're kind of toxic, they're passive aggressive, or they don't collaborate the way they need to. They are creating silos, and they really are, being a challenge to the culture, whatever the reason is. I remember one of the clients I had one time, they had a sales rep who was performing at a very high level. But I said, so what's the problem? It's like, well, she's completely off her rocker. They use more colorful words that I won't use here in the podcast, but she's not in alignment with our company core values. And I go, tell me a little bit more about it. Well, she makes people cry. She lies. I'm going, she lies? And they're like, yeah, she lied straight to my face last week about this problem and then another problem. And I go, and you put up with it, you tolerate that. And he said, yeah. He goes, but after having this conversation, I realized that I need to make some changes and I need to really prioritize this across my project. Now, I share this story with you because he realized it. And I will tell you, I checked back in 6 months because, follow up is a king inside of sales. Nothing had changed. The person was still there. She was still toxic, and she was actually causing people to leave across the team. So it was having this ripple effect across the organization because of the way this person was not aligned with core values. Now, don't let this happen to you. Make sure that you address this. Even high performers that are executing at a high level, if they're not aligned with their company core values, you need to exit them. Point blank. It's time. Back to Grant. I'm sure it's easy for me to say and for outsiders to say that if a client caused a lot of drama, obviously that's going to cause drama inside the company, and there are going to be a lot of, pointing fingers and all this kind of stuff that you have to make the hard choice sometimes to ask those clients to either change their ways, letting them know that this is something that's probably pretty important to you guys, or they can find someone else to execute their marketing plans.
Yeah, it's a big world. Doesn't have to be us.
Grant, we're having a great conversation about being values-driven leaders. And I want to ask you just one quick question here about your own leadership principles. You're well-studied, going through EO, going through strategic coach, operating off the EOS. But has there been a mistake in your own leadership of the way you thought about leadership that has changed over the last few years that you're willing to share with us today that lets you know that you're continuing to evolve as a leader?
Yeah, plenty of mistakes. So pick your category. One that is recent and therefore comes to mind quickly is I've gone through increasing levels of understanding that this is a strategic coach concept, but who, not how. Don't ask how can we do this. Ask who could make this happen really well. And also an EOS concept of we had an EOS implementer named Dan Zawacki who would always say the root of all your evils is in your accountability chart, which is like your organization chart if you don't have the right people in the right seats. I recently thought that it would be appropriate for me to kind of do a lot to lead one of the departments on our team, which had about 30 people, and sort of overfunction as the leader of that, despite us actually having a leader. And I was just like, I will do it. I will put it on my back. I will be the person. And that did not work at all. And what occurred to me belatedly is that if there's a team of 30 people and I am one of them, I represent about 3% of the effort that the team is putting forth. So the idea that I could just personally carry people to the promised land without having the right leadership and the right people in the right seats and the right, supporting leaders is laughable in hindsight, but something that I often forget about because I'm just I'm a genius. I'll just do it. And it turns out, no, you are not. You are a human, and you should rely on building collaborations with other people, not just trying to be Superman who then eventually gets hit by a train.
It sounds so important. It sounds like servant leadership. I'll jump in and fix what needs to be fixed with this team. But when we take servant leadership too far, we're not empowering the people around us to fix it.
Yes. Yeah. We had two sides of the company. The part of the side that I was I'll be really involved in, I'll be the servant leader, be so helpful, struggled. The part that I just let the great leaders do it grew a lot. And it's oh my gosh, I'm the problem. That's the difference here, is I'm over-functioning and my servant leadership is not helpful at all.
It sounds like the age-old problem, I know you're a founder of Nonprofit Megaphone, is it's very easy to get pulled back into the work because you probably grew up doing the work. And totally. You're oh yeah, I can step in for here. And it sounds so good. But many times I've heard, yeah, it didn't go the way I wanted to, or I dropped the ball over here, or for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. And what does work consistently is identifying the leaders that we need to lift up, putting your time with those people and just supporting them and guiding them, holding them accountable and coaching them, whatever that's from my perspective over time, seeing this happen, dozens and dozens of times with our clients. But Grant, I really appreciate you opening up and sharing with us, some of your strategies, some of the tactics you use, how you, really reward your teams, how you stay aligned with your values, and then also, this mistake that you have learned the hard way, and knowing that your job is, you can't go back to being just founder anymore and execute. You've got to be the CEO of this company as you continue to grow, because that's how you get to impact those charities that are out there doing good in the world.
Absolutely.
Great conversation today. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. Now, what a great interview. I love talking about core values. I've done it hundreds of times on this podcast before. I really believe that companies that don't have core values, or they have them and they're not living them, it's just something that they did at one point in time, and now they're just moved on to more important things, are missing the opportunity to create alignment, to create the right team, and to really create some ways of empowering people and holding them accountable as you grow as an organization, because it does change over time. It gets harder. What got you to 10 million has to be looked at critically to be able to get to that 20 million range. And you have to show up differently. You have to have a different culture. And all of those things are really important from my perspective, because I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of companies that are in fast growth mode, like the Inc. 5000. And if you want to talk about some of those things with me, I'm happy to get on a call and really understand what's going on in your organization. Just send me an email, gene@genehammett.com. And the company I have is Core Elevation. You can check me out if you want to before you register. But just remember that when you think of leadership, when you think of growth, think of Growth Think Tank, and lead with courage. We'll see you next time.